So, what if I told you that every single day, in pretty much every conversation you have, you're either selling something or you're being sold on something? That is the big, powerful idea behind Grant Cardone's book, Sell or Be Sold. And trust me, this is not just a book for salespeople. It's basically a playbook for getting your way in every part of your life.
And this question right here, this is the core of the whole thing. Just think about it for a second. In any interaction, whether you're negotiating a deal, just having a chat, or even in a relationship, one person is influencing the other. Cardone's whole philosophy is pretty simple. You need to make sure that person is you.
So in this explainer, we're going to unpack 5 really game-changing ideas from the book. We'll get into why selling is a basic life skill, what really separates the pros from the amateurs, the single most important sale you will ever make, a surprisingly simple trick to get past any objection, and finally his famous rule for taking massive, undeniable action.
Okay, let's just dive right into this first section, where we kind of have to redefine what selling even means. You know, for a lot of people, it's a bit of a dirty word, but Cardone, he argues it's the most vital skill you can have for survival.
So let's just strip away the whole idea of car salesmen and commissions for a minute. When you boil it down, selling is just about influencing or persuading. And when you look at it that way, you suddenly realize you are doing it all day, every single day, anytime you're just trying to get someone to see things your way.
And this right here shows you just how universal it is. I mean, whether you're trying to convince a bank to give you a loan, or you're just trying to get your kids to do their homework, you are selling. Your ability to persuade and negotiate literally shapes your life. It is not just a job, it is a fundamental life skill.
Okay, so if everybody is selling, what separates the people who crush it from the ones who don't? Well, Cardone argues it all boils down to just one thing: your level of commitment.
And Cardone is super clear about this. The amateur kind of dabbles. They hope things work out, and when they don't, they blame other people. But the professional, they commit, they study their craft, and they take total ownership of the results, the good and the bad. He actually says the biggest shortage in the world isn't money or resources, it's a shortage of people who are true, committed professionals.
Now, to become a professional, you need a really strong foundation. Because before you can convince anyone else of anything at all, there is one person you absolutely 100% have to sell first.
And honestly, this might just be the biggest takeaway from the entire book. It is the bedrock for every other success you're gonna have.
That person is you. You have to be completely, utterly sold on your own product, on your idea, on your own abilities. Because if you have even a tiny shred of doubt, that lack of belief will just leak out, and it will absolutely kill your chances of success.
Yeah, what's so interesting here is that word unreasonable, right? We're always taught to be reasonable, to see both sides. But Cardone argues that greatness, real greatness, requires a level of belief that kind of defies logic and totally ignores the naysayers. Your conviction has to be your #1 asset.
Okay, so you're sold on yourself. You're convinced. Awesome. But what happens when you run into resistance from other people? Cardone has this surprisingly simple, super practical tool for handling basically any objection they throw at you.
The secret is to just stop fighting. When someone objects, don't argue with them, agree with them. Acknowledge their point of view. Now, this isn't about manipulation. It's about building a bridge. By agreeing with their reality, you disarm them, and that makes them way more open to hearing your solution.
I mean, think about how powerful that is. Instead of starting a fight, you're creating an alliance. So if a customer says, "Wow, that's too expensive," the amateur argues. But the professional says, "You're right, it is a big investment, and here's exactly why it's worth every penny." It just completely changes the entire dynamic of the conversation.
All right, we've covered the mindset, we've got the tactics, but what fuels this whole system? Well, this brings us to Cardone's signature concept for guaranteeing results. This is the engine that powers everything else. It's called the 10x rule, and it's got 2 parts. First, you have to set targets for yourself that are 10 times bigger than what you think you can achieve. And second, you have to take 10 times the amount of action you think is necessary to hit those targets. The whole idea here is that a target that huge forces you to think completely differently and just ditch all your old limiting beliefs about what's actually possible.
Cardone says we can take the right action, the wrong action, or no action at all. But he says there's a 4th level that almost nobody operates at: massive action. This means you're taking so many actions that you actually create new problems, like having too many customers or too many opportunities. And that is where success is.
And this is where it all comes together. That massive level of activity is what leads to the ultimate prize. For Cardone, the formula couldn't be simpler. Massive action creates massive production, and it's that production, not sitting around relaxing, that creates true happiness. And so we're going to end with a direct challenge to you. Now that you know you either sell or get sold, and that massive action is the only way to get real results, what is one thing you will do today at 10 times the level you normally would? That's the question Sell or Be Sold leaves you to answer.